All right, ready to dive deep. Today we're taking apart the story of ChromeOS.
Sounds good.
You've given us a ton of research here. Articles, blog posts.
Yeah, we're going way beyond that whole it's just a browser thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Buckle up, because this operating system's journey is wilder than you might think.
It really is. What gets me is how ChromeOS started as this radical idea, a total departure, and then, well, here it is.
Right. A major player?
A story about vision for sure, but also adaptation, understanding what users actually want.
Okay, so we've got the Wikipedia rundown on ChromeOS, but also, let's see, Ars Technica, stuff from the Chromium project itself, even going way back with a canonical blog post. Where do we even begin with this?
You know, the start of ChromeOS is actually surprisingly simple. Google, late 2000s, they noticed something interesting about their own employees.
What's that?
They were practically living in their web browsers.
Really?
Email, documents, even basic tasks, all happening in the cloud.
Wow, like they glimpsed the future of computing in their own office and then decided to just go for it. I do have to say, Wikipedia mentioning their early insistence on SSDs for Chromebooks. That's stuck with me.
Interesting, right?
Back then, SSDs weren't the standard at all.
Bold move. A hint that Google was playing a different game. SSDs were more expensive, sure, but the speed. Perfect for a lightweight OS that's all about getting you online fast. They were betting big on the cloud, even back when most people were still a little iffy about storing everything online.
They knew what they wanted, speed and simplicity. This is where it gets interesting, though. A little known fact. Early days, ChromeOS, built on Ubuntu.
No way, really?
Canonical blog, yep. This tech giant, using another OS as the foundation for their big vision.
Shows you how intertwined the open source world can be. Even Google, with all their resources, they weren't afraid to borrow, to build on what was already working. But ambitious as that vision was, they couldn't ignore the market realities forever. Remember those early Chromebooks?
Web apps only.
Right, exactly. Turns out that wasn't quite enough for most people.
They had those Chrome apps, trying to create a whole ecosystem in the browser.
Right, yeah.
Chromium.org has a whole, a post-mortem on those. Fascinating look at what worked, what just didn't.
A valuable lesson in platform evolution. You can have the best tech, but if it doesn't fit how people actually use their devices...
It's going to struggle.
Exactly. And Google, being the data-driven giant they are, they picked up on that.
They had to.
Right.
Wikipedia talks about this massive surge in Chromebooks in education.
Oh, yeah.
Kids these days, practically born with a smartphone in hand, asking them to embrace web apps only on their school computers, not gonna fly.
Exactly. Forced Google to adapt. And that's where we see this fascinating back and forth between ChromeOS and Android starting.
Remember all those articles? Wired, the Wall Street Journal, even Ars Technica chiming in, all speculating about some grand merger.
Yeah, everyone trying to predict if Google's going to merge them, make them fight, or just let them awkwardly coexist. It was like a tech soap opera.
Totally. But through all of that, one thing became clear. Google wasn't killing off ChromeOS.
Nope.
Instead, they decided to embrace Android, leverage its strengths. Think about it. They had this wildly popular mobile OS dominating the app world. Why not bring that to Chromebooks?
Smart.
Huge news when the Play Store finally landed on ChromeOS, according to Wikipedia. Suddenly, you have access to millions of Android apps right there on your Chromebook.
Game changer.
Yeah.
And for anyone still saying ChromeOS was just a browser, well, that argument just went out the window. But it's important to note, this wasn't a simple copy and paste.
It gets super interesting when you look under the hood, right? Wikipedia mentioned this thing, ARC.
Yeah.
App Runtime for Chrome.
Right, right. Initially, that's how they tackled it. But then they really stepped it up with ARC++EV, which basically used Linux containers. So each Android app gets its own little sandbox to run in.
Hold on. Linux containers. You have to break that down for me. That sounds a little intimidating.
Okay. Imagine like a bunch of ships and bottles, each with its own self-contained environment. That's kind of what a Linux container is. It lets an app run on a system without directly messing with the main OS.
I see.
More secure, more efficient. And that was key to getting those Android apps running smoothly, safely on Chromebook.
So it's not just about making them work, it's about making them work well. I am seeing some things here on ChromeOS.dev that suggest that whole container thing. It paved the way for even more Android features down the line.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it doesn't end there. Remember we talked about those ChromeOS roots in Ubuntu?
Yeah?
Well, Google decided to welcome Linux itself to the party.
No way. Full circle. Wikipedia called it embracing Linux applications. which sounds kind of poetic for a tech move. But you're telling me I can run an actual Linux app on a Chromebook?
Oh, it's real. It's called Crostini, which, honestly, way too cute a name for what it does. We're talking giving users the power of virtual machines,
Rolled
containers.
up virtual machines now.
Mhm.
Getting some flashbacks to college computer science classes, and they're not all pleasant.
Think of it like a computer within your computer. It lets you run one operating system inside another. So with Crostini, you can have a full Linux environment running right alongside your ChromeOS apps. Best of both worlds, really.
Okay, that actually makes sense. So if I'm a developer, which, let's be honest, a lot of our listeners probably are, I can now seriously consider a Chromebook for, like, actual coding work.
Exactly. Crostini opens up a ton of possibilities for ChromeOS. But all of this, the speed, the simplicity, the flexibility, wouldn't mean much if it wasn't secure.
Right.
And that's where this thing called the Punium competition comes in.
Cunium. Okay, that sounds ominous, like some kind of gladiatorial contest, but for hackers.
Well, you're not far off. Essentially, Google invites hackers, good guy hackers, of course, to try and break into ChromeOS.
Right.
They offer prize money for every vulnerability found.
Wow, so they are actively encouraging people to find weaknesses in their own system. That's
Yeah.
confident. Or maybe a little crazy. What if they find something truly awful?
That's the point. ZDNet did an article about this a while back, and it turns out Google is incredibly quick at patching these vulnerabilities. We're talking days, maybe weeks, not months. Proactive, staying ahead of the curve.
Okay, that does make me feel better. It's good to know they're taking it seriously. But ChromeOS isn't just classrooms and developers, right?
Yeah.
I'm seeing some buzz about this ChromeOS Flex thing. Google's Cloud blog, Ars Technica, they're all over this, sounds like. ChromeOS for everything.
You got it. Remember how we were talking about Google spotting those opportunities? There are tons of perfectly good computers out there held back by aging operating systems. ChromeOS Flex. It's designed to give those devices new life.
So wait, you can replace, like, Windows or even macOS with ChromeOS
Yeah.
on an older machine that can't handle the latest update.
That's the idea. And the really wild part, it seems to work incredibly well. We're talking a lightweight, secure OS that can breathe new life into old hardware. It's a pretty radical move.
It's like they're flipping the whole idea of what an operating system even is. Instead of being tied to one device, one manufacturer, ChromeOS is becoming this universal platform. Adaptable, accessible. Is this what we're all headed towards? The future of computing?
It's definitely a sign of things to come, I think. This whole blurring of the lines between the cloud and local computing, that's only going to accelerate. Remember what happened with Google Cloud Print?
Oh, yeah. Wikipedia mentioned how they sunsetted that. Kind of a bummer, actually. It's a pretty useful feature.
Useful, sure, but it does highlight that trade-off you make when you rely on the cloud entirely. The service goes away while things get disruptive. But look how Google adapted, right? Instead of abandoning easy printing altogether, they doubled down on native printer support within ChromeOS itself. Even more versatile now.
Constantly adjusting, finding that balance. Their cloud-centric beginnings, but also how people actually use their devices day to day. Speaking of adjusting, did you see that AndroidCentral.com article? ChromeOS getting 10 years of automatic updates.
10 years. Wow.
10. That's practically forever in tech years.
Almost unheard of. And a brilliant strategic move by Google. Speaks volumes about their confidence in ChromeOS's longevity. Can you imagine? Especially for businesses, schools, knowing those devices are going to be supported, secure for a decade.
Talk about a long-term investment. But hey, it's not all serious business, right? ChromeOS has some fun tricks up its sleeve. Wikipedia actually surprised me with this Steam for Chromebook thing. Are we really talking about gaming on a Chromebook now?
Oh, it's happening. And from what I've seen on Chrome Unboxed, it's pretty impressive stuff.
Wait, hold on. I can play, like, actual new games on a Chromebook?
Yeah.
Without needing to jump through hoops, install Linux or anything? How does that even work?
Some very clever virtualization magic going on under the hood, according to ChromeOS.dev. The details are fascinating, but the bottom line is it's designed to be seamless. You fire up Steam, download your game, good to go.
Okay, my mind is a little blown here. So, I can get a Chromebook now, play the latest games, run my Android apps, even do some hardcore Linux development if I want, all on the same device.
That's the beauty of ChromeOS today. Versatile, powerful, constantly evolving. No longer that niche OS stuck in the classroom.
This whole deep dive has been a trip. Started with what seemed like such a simple concept, right? A browser in an OS. And now look where we are. Innovation, adaptation, a little bit of healthy disruption along the way.
That's what's so great about technology. It never sits still. And ChromeOS is a testament to that. challenges our assumptions, pushes those boundaries. What can an operating system even be?
So as we wrap up here, what's the big takeaway for our listeners? What should they be thinking about as they boot up those Chromebooks? Or maybe even consider making the switch?
The big question is this a glimpse into the future for all of us? This blend of cloud and local, this constant evolution, is this the new normal for operating systems?
Something to ponder, for sure.
Definitely something to ponder. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Hope you enjoyed this exploration of Chrome OS as much as we did. Until next time, stay curious.